Right, question 1, it says, in 2004, more than 80% of people in the age group 45 to 54 had access to the internet. So we're looking for the year 2004, which is here, and we're looking for age 45 to 54, which is a green solid cross. So we go straight up here to 45 to 54, and we can see that it's slightly below the 80% line. So slightly below the 80% line, it's about 79%. And the question is it more than 80%? Well, 79 is not more than 80. So question 1 was a nice simple false. And that was just saying, by reading off the graph, looking at 2004, going up the y-axis to see where the graph for 45 to 54 meets the y-axis, okay? So using the correct mathematical terms. Question 2, in 2007, 1 in 10 women aged 75 and above had access to the internet. Well, this one doesn't tell us anything about men or women, so we can't use this graph at all. We have to realise that the only one that's showing us about men and women is this one. We have to check that it's the right year, because it's saying in the question 2007. We have to make sure they've given us the right graph of 2007, which they have. And if we look at the women that are 75 years or more, we can see it's 10%. So in 2007, 1 in 10 women, 1 in 10 is 10%, 1/10 is 0.1, which is 10%. So this question is true. Question 2 is true. 1 in 10 women did have access in 2007 if they were aged 75 or more, by reading off the second graph, the block diagram. Then it says, in 2010, 16 to 24-year-olds were the age group that had the largest proportion with access to the internet. So we have to read off this graph again. We're looking for 16 to 24, which in my case is a circle with red dots. So 2010, if we look up here, and this is the highest proportion. They're about 99%. So about 99% of 16 to 24-year-olds in 2010 have the highest access to internet. So the answer there is true. So you can see that the first questions are basically just reading off the graph. There's no real calculations. If you can read off the graph, you can get the E-level points usually for the oral test. Question 4. In 2007, 3/5, so we're looking at 2007, 3/5 of the age group 55 to 64 had internet access. So we make sure that we're looking at the right year, 2007, and we're looking for 55 to 64, which is green with a dotted line, which is this one here. And if we go to 2007 and go straight up here, we can see that it is about 77%. Whereas 3/5, how much is that? 3/5 is actually 0.6 or 60%. So you could actually say true or false here. Well, if 77% have internet access, so do 60%. Okay? So there was 2 answers, but your explanation has to be clear. So no, it wasn't 60%, but if 77% do have access to internet, then of course 60% do as well. Yeah? So they can also be that they put in these little trick questions. But you would have got correct with either true or false in that answer. Then we have in 65 to 74, proportion in Swedish, andel. The proportion that had access to internet doubled between 2002 to 2006. So proportion can be thought of as a fraction or a percentage. Okay, so we're looking at 65 to 74, which is this blue crossed line, from 2002, which is here, to 2006, which is here. So what we're going from in terms of percentage is we're going from about 24% to about 50%, if we read off the graphs. So so is it doubling? Well, it's slightly more than doubling. 24 doubled would be 48%, and it goes up to 50. So yes, we could say that's true. Slightly more, and I'd probably specify that by saying slightly more than doubled, in fact. Okay? That's question 5. We'll do one more question on this video, and then we'll start another video for the slightly trickier questions. Question 6. In the age group 16 to 24, let's identify that one. It's the red dotted line with a circle in the middle. The access to internet has increased by 20 percentage points. Well, let's get the data then. 2004, we go up here, and we're at about 70%. And in 2005, we've got to about 86%. And this was for the age group 16 to 24. This was question 6. So, is it 20 percentage points? Well, no. To go percentage points, we just count the number of percent we move. So 86% minus 70%. We don't do a percentage change calculation here. It's just 16%. So it's 16 percentage points, which is not 20. So the answer to this one is false. Okay? So these are the easy ones, the questions that you can